Up in here. I have 2 other Facebook groups. I've stopped hitting the big T. It just says every time. It's like, no. So I'm gonna go no to them. Welcome in, guys. It is 6:34. I am 7:34. Probably most of you guys are. Monday morning, March 21st, and that means it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, for these morning shows, Scott Kennedy. Scott, good morning to you. How was your weekend?
Good morning. It was busy. That's good. Lots of kid sports. The boy had 4 games on Saturday, and then I had softball with the girl yesterday afternoon. So lots of outside time, lots of kid sports. So that was a good time for sure. How about you? What's going on?
It was a little bit of a cruddy weekend as far as weather. It's like right around 40 degrees and constantly light rain. But we had a little break in the rain showers here, and we went to the University of Washington campus where cherry trees that were brought over 150 years ago are all in full bloom, which is really, really incredible to see. I mean, God, just hordes of people there on a weekend at the one blip when it's not raining, but really cool to see. Really, everything's just popping right now. It's raining pretty hard right now, and I know those cherry blossoms are fragile, so maybe that was it. Maybe that was the window, but it was nice to see. It's also nice to see everybody else in here. Duke Rose coming in, thought he was signed. Yeah, La'el Collins was signed. We're talking about the conflicting rumors coming out there as far as were they interested, weren't they interested, blah, blah, blah. Mile High Truth coming in. Hello, it's sad to see us make those moves with our wide receivers with the expectation we are not going to use any of that space in another hole. Definitely possible. There'll be some signings still, but maybe it's not massive. EJ, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Luke writes in the house, good morning, Nick and Scott. Have you seen episode 3 of Behind the Broncos? It's so good. I love Russell. He is such a leader. I have not yet. It's been on the to-do list. A lot of times I will either write an article or do something for me during lunch break at work at my computer. I don't go anywhere. I'm cheap and try to save some money because it's expensive in Seattle. So I sit there and I'll pull it up and eat my salad kit or my soup over lunch watching it. So have you watched it yet, Scott?
I haven't watched any of those, to be frank. I don't watch a lot of sports TV unless it's games.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. I like it for the clips and the understanding, thought process and stuff. I like to peel back the curtain. It's like watching press conferences. Like I thought when the Broncos signed DJ Jones, maybe he's going to play that 5 technique spot in 3-4. Listening to Jiro Evero talk about him, I don't think that's happening. And base sounds like he's going to be the nose, unless he's off the field for Purcell. But I don't know why you'd do that to play base to take your best run defender off. EJ coming in, disappointed the Broncos did not sign La'el Collins and the Bengals did. Yeah, the AFC is, there's too many good teams. Somebody's going to be left out in the cold. I have no idea who it is. That's something we'll talk about probably after the draft when we kind of get an idea of who these teams are. EJ also saying hopefully the Broncos sign Bryce Callahan. Ethan in the house. He's bummed. He's switched his linebacker crusade to right tackle, and then we don't get Collins. So I know Ethan's got to be a little bit sad. Good morning, gents in Broncos country. Good to see you. Sean Burns is in here. Good morning. Yes. Welcome in, guys. Broncos for breakfast. If you're joining us for the first time, make sure that you hit like, subscribe, and share. I see that we have only 5 right now, but I know it's early morning, so we're going to get at it. But
I'll make sure it's 6
because
I'm watching on Facebook too.
Okay. Well, there we go. Boom. 7. There we go. Dave Glassman with the laugh. Benjamin Flores with the heart. We appreciate you guys. Rob Boxbum coming in. Good morning, Nick and Scott. My favorite MHH team. That's very nice of you to say, Rob. That's if you feel that way, I'll go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and say Nick and Scott number 1 in our hearts. Most of the free agent slot corner guys have gone. Besides Callan, who could they still bring in? So, Scott, do you have any thoughts? Well, I pull up a list because I have a couple tweets with the guys who I think are viable slot corners. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I do have thoughts on this, and went over it a little bit last night, and basically, talking about, well, that guy's normally been a boundary corner. He's been outside. Well, typically in football, the most athletic guys are the farthest away from the ball. And as they lose a step, or if they're not quite good enough to begin with, you start moving them down. So if I'm a tackle, he's not quite athletic enough to play tackle. Okay, well, let's move him to guard. He is a corner. Well, it's not quite working out for corners. He's big enough to play safety. Let's move him more inside. So when you're talking about slot corners, all you're doing is talking about corners. If you can play outside, you can play inside. So, I hear this, we get into this specialization, and it's, can the guy play or not? Do you have a cornerback? Because it's not just slot corner. Is he a slot corner? If he's a cornerback, he's a slot corner. It's like saying, is he a slot receiver? If you're not good enough to play outside, they bring you inside. That's how slot receivers are. That means they're probably not good enough to play outside. So, this isn't on you, Rob. This is something we got into last night too, and this is just, again, the era of specialization and all these talks. Can the guys play or not? So you're looking at corners, period. How will they fit in? Last year, we were talking about Patrick Surtain coming and being that X factor, that wild card who comes in and plays in the slot, blitzes, the nickel, and doing all those things. And injuries forced him outside. Guess what? He's good enough to play outside. We knew that. So again, don't get too worried about the labels. You're looking for another good corner.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah,
Get off
definitely.
the lawn.
This is good TV here. I disagree slightly, just
course
ever
you
so
Because you love the
slightly.
specialization.
I do love the specialization, and the way I think about it is there are guys who can do both for sure, but it's kind of like and the boundary corner is more valuable, but it's kind of like a tackle to guard. A lot of tackles, they can't hang at tackle going from college to the NFL, so they kick inside, similar to some of the athletes on the boundary. But sometimes there are some guys who just don't have the body type to play the slot. You have to be looser in the hips, and your odds are you're going to have less press. So guys who are like Richard Sherman in his heyday, he's not really playing the slot because he needs that boundary to protect him, and he needs to be
You put
playing
him at free
press.
safety.
Yeah.
You know, he'd still be a nickel guy. You put him at free safety. You could still move Richard Sherman inside and be just fine with a 6'3" guy that can play corner. I promise you he can play inside.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's a little bit, again, I am definitely more of a specialist in these body types and roles. So some of the cornerbacks here that have accumulated a good bit of slot snaps in their career, Kawan Williams from the 49ers. He's been really good there. He is 31 years old, so you don't want to pay him a big contract, but I think he's an option. Obviously, you still have Bryce Callahan, who's an option. Jason Veret is 31 too. He's been inside, outside his career. He's had injury histories, but guess what? That's who's left, guys with injury histories. In that same vein, Chris Harris Jr. has fallen off. He's 33. He's been regressing, but he's somebody who obviously has played primarily slot. Mike Hughes is an option, younger, hasn't been great, but he's 25. Maybe you still have a lot left in the tank there for him that you can depend on the next few seasons. And Tavon Young from Baltimore, again, he's their version of Bryce Callahan. He's been primarily a slot, but he's been injured as heck. So you need to bring in somebody to play cornerback. You don't have a crazy amount of cash, so I don't think screaming Stephon Gilmore does anything besides you're just saying a name. Don't think he's coming in. So those are the names that I would keep an eye on personally for the Broncos if outside of Bryce Callahan.
And then Peter coming with some stars. Good morning. First stars of the day.
Heck yeah,
Says,
Peter,
so a
thank you.
quarterback and a strong defense, is that enough without an OL? That's an oversimplification. It was enough to get the Bengals to the Super Bowl. It was also enough for them to be 10-7 and almost miss making the playoffs altogether. And it wasn't enough to get them over the hump. But what are they doing? They're going hard after the offensive line. So you say without an OL, your OL is better than Cincinnati Bengals was last year. So it was mid-tier. It was okay. Do you still want to upgrade, given the resources you have? Do you still want to upgrade the right tackle position? Do you still want to bring in more competition and possibly upgrade interior line? Yes, you do. So it's not over yet. It's not over by a long shot. Think of the contributors to the team last year, and how many of them were even on the roster in March? You know, six of them maybe. I could probably come up with 6 guys that were major contributors last year to the Denver Broncos that weren't even on the roster in March. So it ain't over, fellas. It ain't over.
I agree with you completely. And also, you should assume almost everybody on the Broncos offensive line is back. And I would expect Quinn Miners to take a step forward, given where he is at his career. And trajectory isn't always, linear on players. They don't every single year they get twice as good. That's not the case. There's plateaus, there's dips, et cetera, et cetera. But Quinn Miners coming from Wisconsin to Whitewater, weird offseason, going from that level to not playing in the year 2020. I would expect a big step forward in Quinn Miners' game. So that's one you can depend on. You also have Graham Glasgow coming back, who I think is probably going to be the starting center. Taking Lloyd Cushenberry off the field in this outside zone scheme might be an addition via subtraction. I think to Dave Glassman coming in with the streaks here. Thank you so much, Dave. But to Jeremy's point here, the star streaks. Thank you so much, Dave. We appreciate you. But to Jeremy's point also, I think Dalton Reisner is a better fit in the outside zone scheme as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, Garrett Bowles was drafted to play in the outside zones game. So I don't think the Broncos are going to have a bad offensive line. I think right now they sit squarely league average in the middle with some actually some solid depth there right now as well. So I am not freaking out about the offensive line. Yes, the Broncos are in a division with Chandler Jones, with Khalil Mack, with Joey Bosa, with Max Crosby, with Frank Clark. But the Broncos are also in a division with Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Mike Williams, Darren Wall. I mean, gosh, over and over again. I'm as concerned about right tackle as I am the pass rush and the defensive back depth right now. I think that people are making way too big of a deal of just the right tackle when you have other areas where you can improve this roster and close the gap on the AFC West.
Yeah, the edge has been addressed, but that doesn't mean it's been fixed.
Yeah.
You're still going in right now, and again, good morning. So we got Scotland, we got Cambodia, we got all kinds of time zones flying around here. That's what's kind of fun about the morning show.
Yeah.
Is the diversity of viewers that we get from all over the country and all over the world. But again, you've got an answer, but is it the right one? And the thing you're talking about a $6 million cap hit for Randy Gregory. That's a pretty good answer. That also doesn't preclude you from bringing in somebody else. You could go edge again just to make sure you've got depth. It was a big problem last year. Can you count on? Okay, we think this is a Super Bowl contending team, and can I count on Bradley Chubb to be one of my key players, Nick?
Probably not. Anything you get from him is bonus. Also, he is just 1 year left of contractual control. So if he has a great year and you tag him next year, he gets a contract. That's awesome. Good for him. But at the same time, can you depend on him? I mean, Randy Gregory also, putting the suspensions aside, he's never really played a large snap load workload in the NFL. What does that look like? Then you're depending on Jonathan Cooper, who I think is fine, but not as if he's starting, then you're in trouble. And then Malik Reed, who you guys know, I mean, God bless him for accumulating sacks, but in first and second down, if he's near the field, I'm having an aneurysm. I'm upset. So edge is a big issue, and then cornerback depth. Ronald Darby has played one full season in his career, and after that, Ojemudia is still a question mark. Even if you like him, I don't trust any of these guys personally in slot over a long season. And then Caden Stearns, the more he played last season, the more he was exposed and looked a little bit worse. So I don't trust the safeties fully after Justin Simmons also. So you're talking about the AFC West, you need to load up in pass rushers and defensive backs too, as much as the right tackle is an issue. So both those areas need to be addressed. And guess what? If you don't pay Collins, but that means you can bring in another right tackle and a cornerback and another defensive lineman edge rusher in that, $10-12 million you're giving up for La'el Collins, I'd rather have the three players. Point blank, period. But for real.
Yeah, there's, again, now you're just looking at, incremental increases. You've made the big leap with the quarterback. Now it's okay, what's going to make me incrementally better?
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways to do that besides just, okay, filling my biggest hole. I can get better in other ways. BX Bronco Jedi says, good morning, fellas. Scotty, you okay? I heard about Freddie Freeman. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks, but you can't blame a guy. It sounds like he wants to go home, wants to go back to Southern California. But what was funny is it was the first game. My son has a lot of similarities to Freddie Freeman, except he's fast. Not that he's going to be Freddie Freeman, but he's left-handed, played first base a lot, throws right, was born in California, will graduate high school when he's 17. All those things are just like Freddie Freeman. So one of our dads always says when he's up to bat, says, come on, Freddie Freeman, let's do one, or something like that. And this weekend I heard him say, come on, and he stopped himself. And I looked over and his nickname's Dollar. I said, Dollar, it's okay. It's okay. You can still use it. We're okay. So he's like, well, I caught myself. I'm like, come on, Matt Olson sounds weird. So yeah. We'll be all right. We're going to miss him for sure. Mike Givens saying, good morning, Broncos country. Beautiful day in Dove Valley in North Carolina. It is. It's shaping up to be a beautiful day in the Southeast. I don't know what everybody else is doing today, but nice cold front came through and dried everything out. Should be about mid-60s and bright and sunny. Should be nice.
Yeah, and Ashton's in my time zone in Vegas, making videos for a trucker convention. Vegas isn't his scene, but damn, the stadium is awesome. I've never been to Vegas in my life, so one day I'll get there just for the food scene. I'm not really much of a gambler, card game, too ADD, but
I'm too good at math, is what I always said. It's a sucker's game, so I'll go and play. I consider it an entertainment expense. It's like I'll go put in $20 into the video poker machine and see if I can make it last an hour. Like, okay, yeah. So I paid $20 for an hour's worth of entertainment. Yep. There's a bad joke in there somewhere I won't get into, but Vegas has a lot of things. You don't have to gamble to enjoy the shows. It is world-class people watching, and the weather is usually nice at night. Warm summer nights are great, which you don't get a ton of those where you live. So,
No.
being out there in a warm summer night, watching the people go by and the spectacles. Vegas is a fun town, and you don't have to gamble a cent.
Yeah, absolutely. Miguel coming in. Good morning, fellas. Awesome to see you. Scott Benjamin
It's
Flores
okay.
also.
Lawrence has been waiting patiently, and he may have said, I love you guys for this headline. I can tell you what I think's been happening. I'm the conspiracy guy. I think Lawrence is the one that also, not just the conspiracy, but he's always looking at the wrong end of, okay, George Payton. I've got my doubts. Doubts about George Payton. So put them in the chat, Lawrence. We'll pop a couple up of those as long as they're, PG-ish.
Kosher. Good morning from James Hyatt. Good to see you. Leroy Cortez in the house too. And here we go. What's the conflicting part about Collins? I get the suspension injury and all, but is that all? So the conflicting part about Collins here. So the Broncos, as soon as Collins signed, Benjamin Albright and Mike Kliss both send out a very similar tweet saying the Broncos were never interested, even though Jeremy Fowler from ESPN said the Broncos were interested on him. And there's many avenues to this. I think the Broncos were interested to an extent, just engaging the market, seeing what would happen with Collins. And if we stuck around a little bit, maybe then they make a pursuit. But I don't think it was anything more than that. So yes, they were interested, but not like we have to get this guy in here interested, betting worth type of thing. Also hearing that the Broncos are interested too. Could that be coming from the Broncos, or could that be coming from the agent? This is a game where they're trying to make as much money as possible. And the more interest you have for your client, the more likely teams are going to feel pressure to maybe give a little bit more guarantees or that extra year of control at the end, blah, blah, blah. So there's many parties here. I think the actual truth, probably somewhere lies in the middle. The Broncos, I don't think, are heartbroken not getting La'el Collins. Also, why was Collins traded for or not traded for instead of just ultimate free agent? Because he signed essentially the deal that would have been traded for. My understanding is that the types of physicals and medical checks that are allowed for a trade are different than that of a free agent. And a lot of teams have concerns about La'el Collins' hips going forward. That could cost him, games, career, drop his play as well. So because of that stuff, a lot of teams were balking at trading for him because they wanted the more full medical check. That's my understanding. That's what I've been told. I don't know all the intricacies of how the medical checks go. I mean, gosh, you're talking really fine minutia there, and every team operates a little differently. But that's something to, I guess, keep in mind as well.
Well, in talking about that, I just hate to hear that. Because at 40, 45 years old, this dude, even if he's healthy enough to play for several more years in his career, you're talking hip replacement surgery in your 40s.
Yep.
And it's too young for a guy like that. I see so many athlete dads pushing their kids to other sports that were football guys. And I ran into a guy who played in the NFL a long time. I was like, well, you was a former lineman. I said, you move better than just about anybody I've seen so far. There's no limp. There's no nothing. He's like, yeah, I just had my hip and knee replaced. I'm like, oh, got it. Yeah. So, concussions have made the news, but it's all the degenerative injuries that are tough. Yeah. Anyway, that's a different topic. Going back onto one more point on Collins. Why would the Broncos even care enough to say anything about it? Because they're looking at another right tackle and they don't want him to feel like he was second choice. That's something to think of. Why even bother? It's like, who cares? You ain't gonna. That's why.
Could it also
there are negotiations with somebody else, and this is purely speculation on my part, but I'm right a lot on this.
Yeah.
Reading the tea leaves and trying to figure it out. You put that out there because you're in negotiations with someone else, and you don't want that person to think that he was the second choice. That's why.
Could it also be maybe they are? It's kind of like some of these teams engaging in the quarterback market and be like, oh, I'm just kidding. We loved you the whole time. Mm-hmm. Maybe they come back to Tom Compton to make him not have his feelings hurt because maybe they offered some overtures to him.
So hopefully it's not that. I don't know if Compton is at that level. You're like, yeah, we went after La'el Collins. He's better than you.
Yeah.
That's
you'd hope.
That one's a little different, but to me, it feels like maybe there's somebody else out there that they didn't want to hurt somebody else's feelings. Maybe It was Tom, maybe it was Calvin. I don't know. Those guys feel like tackles 3 and 4 to me, and 2 isn't on the roster yet.
I agree with you. Mark Schrader, good morning from Tyler, Texas. Thanks for the Facebook friend, Mark. It's good to see you. Sent me a friend request. Waiting for storms and tornadoes later today. Hopefully not on the tornadoes, man. I'm a little PTSD there. Iowa got hit and a bunch of people died here in the last month with the tornadoes. So those are getting earlier and earlier. It's really starting to tick me off. But we got Jacob Foster with the
That's what I was
Stars.
just about to hit too, because those are the big stars from Jacob,
Boom.
the silent one. Actually, we have a silent one, so I'd need a new nickname for Jacob. There is a silent one that's on this stream, but Jacob is the silent one.
The quiet assassin. We appreciate you, Jacob. It's good to see you. Ben Frank Beasy coming in here saying Chubb will be fine. I hope so. Honestly, it's not so much for me. So talking about the edge rushing spot, it's not so much Chubb per se for me. It's the combination of just how low your floor is with Chubb and Gregory together, and how I don't view Cooper / Reed as starting caliber edges. I think those guys, keeping them there, they'd be best as a 4 and 5. And Nick, how could you say that about Jonathan Cooper? He played so well last year. Well, Jonathan Cooper fell to the 7th round. I know that he's played well beyond that already, but he's already going to be 24 years old, which is old for a second-year player at the edge spot. He's really good with his hands already, which is a testament to him and his work ethic. But that means that I think he's already closer to his ceiling. He's already developed in the skill side. He's not just an athlete out there having no idea what he's doing. As soon as the hands click, it's like, uh-oh, where did this guy come from? He's never played like this before. And he's also not the biggest body, the most dynamic athlete compared to Edge. And he's an NFL player. He's a great athlete. But so that's
relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you said he's a bad athlete. Let him race you. Well, he'll kill me. He could bench me 300 times. I have no doubt about that. But I would prefer Cooper as your 4 and then Reed as your 5. Edge rush in the defensive line in general is a position where you want to rotate bodies. And right now, I don't know if I love the rotation. And also, I don't think outside of Chubb, I trust any of these edges to be really good first and second down, contain the edge type of run defenders too. So I'm looking, if I was George Payton, I'd be looking at a power edge rusher that can play base first and second down, where you can rotate Gregory sometimes. Maybe that is a Jadeveon Clowney if his knees are fine. He's one, you have a little bit of cash. People are like, why don't you make the big splash at right tackle? I'm also okay making the big splash and hunting the quarterbacks. You can probably get a lot out of Clowney there. Trey Flowers, another one who was cut, who would interest me a little bit of outside-inside versatility. And Carlos Dunlap, a little bit older, but I mean, he's a monster power edge. And if you're trying to live in a 4-2-5 world, having somebody with his size and length to play first and second down sometimes would be, I think, a huge benefit and totally different body type ability than what you have on this roster right now. So thinking about Edge and Chubb, I'm happy with Chubb. I think everybody saying that we should get rid of him is silly because you'd be selling so low on him, where you're if he plays at all this season on a contract season, if he plays well at all and he signs elsewhere, you're probably going to get more via the compensatory formula than you are trading him right now. So why would you do that? You'd make another bigger hole at edge. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
You only do that because you need the salary cap room to sign somebody else.
Yep.
That's the only reason, because you're bringing in a replacement. It's like, okay, well, then okay, I need the salary cap room. That's it. That's the only reason you make that move.
Yep.
So going back to your discussion about Cooper, and then I want to get to Jeremy here. Cooper was a nice surprise. That didn't mean he was a plus starter in the NFL.
Yeah.
He was, Jonathan Cooper, 7th-round pick. We're really excited. Yeah, you are. But if Bradley Chubb played like Jonathan Cooper, you'd be talking about getting rid of Bradley Chubb. It's the unknown. It's the hope. It's the arrow should be going this way, but he wasn't good enough yet to be the starting edge on a playoff caliber Super Bowl contending team. That's why he went out and made some moves. But he's a great value for sure, and he's a great reserve guy who has upside. So you like him, but you're not ready to go to start going with him as your number one guy. And again, there's concerns at both edge spots still with Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb. If those guys hit their ceilings, you're good. You're great.
Yeah.
If they are on and off the field or on and off in form, you're going to have trouble getting to the passer. And Jeremy says, if Abraham Lucas, Washington State offensive tackle, is it Bernard Raymond? Is that his Nick?
Yep.
Bernard Raymond.
Yep.
Offensive tackle, or the now injured David Ajabo, edge, fall to 64. Who do you got?
Well, we're not dealing with all the information here. So you're going to get a very late, close to the draft medical recheck on David Ajabo's Achilles. And if his Achilles comes back where, let's say he's going to miss all of 2022, but he has no long-term structural concern for us, I take Ajabo. You're talking about a first-round caliber pass rusher and a player who should be more singularly impactful than either of the tackles. After that, though, I go with Raymond. Off the top of my head, I think Raymond has a very good chance to sneak in the back end of the first round. I do worry a bit. And Nick, it's just a number. Watch the tape. I know, but we do have pretty good historical precedent that offensive tackles with sub 33-inch arms are few and far between. And Raymond, I think, came in 32 and 5/8. That's off the
32 and
top.
7/8 versus
32 and
33
7/8.
and 7/8. I'm looking at them now.
So yeah, that's the sub 33 for Raymond. Just gives me a little bit of pause. I know it's just talking about a fraction there. But we're talking about that being a pause as far as a first round player. At pick 64, I'm fine with taking that risk. There are a couple offensive tackles, which is not a great sample size out of 64, but there's a couple with sub 33-inch arm length. And I think Raymond's a good scheme fit as well, good athlete. He might drop also because he's going to be 25 or 26 years old. He's old for the position. His body has changed a lot because he came to Central Michigan from Austria, not Australia, Austria, as a tight end, and his body is completely transformed. But at 64, I think, we're talking the arm length maybe matters for a first round pick, but the last pick of the second round, I don't have any issue with that. I'd be happy with him.
Athletically, they're almost identical right now. Raymond had a little bit more in the explosive moves at, a little bit better broad jump, just a little bit better vert, an inch on each arms for Lucas. And Lucas is a little heavier, and his quickness was better. He was quicker through all three of the agility drills, 40, L cone, and shuttle at 10 pounds heavier. So Lucas was it was 303 versus 315. I'm a big fan of Lucas.
Yeah,
I think again, I'm not ready to Spencer Brown this guy. But Spencer Brown falling to 100-ish, 98, 95, wherever he was ridiculous to me. 64, I think, would still be a pretty good pick for Abraham Lucas. But if you were to get any of those three guys at 64, I think the one that has the best chance of being there is Lucas. Now, I'm not 100% sure on this. In baseball, if you get drafted and you don't sign, you go back in the draft a year later. I don't know if it's like that with football. I think it is. But is that a precedent? What would they do to you with collusion type of thing if you didn't sign? Because I'm speaking to David Ajabo here. I don't want to get locked into a third or fourth round contract for 3 or 4 years. If I just had a year-long injury, I'd remove myself from the draft and just re-enter. An agent will float you living expenses in order to go work out at Chip Smith Performance or Athlete's Performance for a year and come back out in a year as an absolute freak, 100% healthy, and get back up in the first or second round, and you make multiple millions of dollars more over the length of that same contract that you would have signed the previous year. So if I'm his agent and I'm sitting there at 64, and if I get to 65 in the third round, I'm thinking, you know what, let's pull out of this thing. We're not signing. Just call people and say, don't draft me because I'm not coming. I'll be back in it next year.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate for Ajabo, and wishing him a speedy recovery. Fun player, really engaging interview too. Listened to a few times he's spoken. It seems really intelligent and a good guy. So pulling for him to turn it around, and hopefully this doesn't impact his career too much. John Fields, good morning. Go Denver Broncos for life. We got Brent Baldwin saying we need a 5 technique. Please let us draft Perrion Winfrey if he's there. Perrion Winfrey, offensive tackle from Oklahoma. Defensive tackle from Oklahoma.
Just a slip.
Yep. Because 5 tech. I think that Perrion Winfrey, I like him a lot. I know that. Are you aware of? Oh God, his name is McGinn. Has been in the industry for a long time, covering the Packers. He's Bob McGinn, I think his name is. Does that name ring a bell for you in the industry, Scott? No. Okay. Well, he said that he puts out a draft guide every year with clips from scouts and agents and personnel people, and he said that a lot of people dogged on Perrion Winfrey's work ethic and whatnot, and so that's a concern. Again, that's pure hearsay, but it's out there from somebody who has some clips out there, so we'll see. You can take it up with Bob McGinn. But the thing about Perrion Winfrey for me is I think he's better as a 3 tech in a pass centric or a 1 gapping centric 4-3 scheme. I don't know if I really want him. He's high cut, and I don't know if I really want him to be taking on double teams and holding up at the point of attack. I want him penetrating the backfield. And I don't think that's something that the Broncos are going to use as much in this defense because they're looking to get some bigger bodies so they can stop the run and play less guys in the box to stop the pass. So I like Winfrey. If he falls to, 75, screw it. Go get the guys who can get after the passer. That's fine. But maybe not 64. I'm curious about the scheme fit for him.
Yeah, I like him a lot, but I don't think he's going to be there. So to me, the conversation's kind of academic because I don't think he falls below 40 and that's pushing it. You watch the way these defensive tackles got paid. The big defensive linemen are getting paid right now in free agency. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we should draft these guys a little higher. And there's several really, really good ones this year. There was Christian Barmore last year. I can probably name 6 to 8 guys that are on that level this year.
Yep, absolutely. We got KB82 coming in saying, I disagree with
Kenneth Booker.
Kenneth. Yes, Kenneth. I disagree with the right tackle gets quarterback killed. Doesn't matter who your cornerbacks and edges are. Also, would you rather have Falele or free agent at right tackle? You could say that about almost any position. The Broncos, I will say this. Tom Compton is as good of a pass protector as Bobby Massey was last year. I don't think he got your quarterback killed as much as anybody did. I mean, honestly, I'm equally concerned about Quinn Minor's pass blocking inside because he had a lot of Olay blocking reps last season where, leaned and the guy got around him as what I've seen from Tom Compton. So that concerns me too, but you're going to have some issues at right tackle. And last year, Scott already said it. I mean, small sample size, but the Cincinnati Bengals got there with Isaiah Prince at right tackle, whiffing on guys every other snap and didn't kill Burrow. So do you want a better right tackle? Yes, but it's really
wasn't for lack of trying though.
Yeah.
They tried to kill Burrow. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. But I think, yes, right tackle is a big issue, but guess what? It's like getting mad that they don't have steak on the Hardee's menu at this point. The options aren't out there. And you should I think people are underselling Compton. I went back and watched a good bit of the tape. I don't think he's a great scheme fit. He's an incredible run blocker, and you're going to have to scheme to protect him a bit. But guess what? The Chiefs are going to have to scheme to protect Lucas Niang. The Chargers are going to have to scheme to protect Storm Norton. The Raiders are going to have to scheme to protect Brandon Parker. Those are your right tackle options in the AFC West right now. They're all bad. They're all bad, period. So you're not alone there. I think you can really close the ground. And I'm not saying that right tackle isn't important. I just think that pass rush and cover guys in the back end are areas where there's more viable options. I think you can spread around that money to improve the depth of your defense. The guys are going to be out there. And let's right tackle. Let's take a walk down that path as well. Compton, I think, raises your floor a lot at that position because he has been healthy, because of the positional versatility. And if he's the starter next year at right tackle, it's not ideal. It's kind of like getting yourself to a service station with a spare tire. Like you can drive for a bit with a spare tire. It's a 1-year stopgap solution, but your car is functional with that spare tire.
And I think that's for Kenneth's point, saying if the right tackle gets the quarterback killed. And what Nick's trying to say in a long way is it's not that bad at right tackle. It's not as bad as you might think. It's okay at right tackle. It's not great, but it's okay. Like it to be better, going to work to get it better. But if we go in and these are our options at right tackle, we'll be okay. Yep. It's not a guarantee that Russell Wilson's going to get destroyed if he's back there with the right tackle going in. Do you want an upgrade? Yeah, you do. Absolutely. And I think they're working hard to try and do that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this is the vision I see from some folks with right tackle when it should be wide. And I think Tom Compton is competent. That's not what you ever want to hear as the first thing you describe a guy, but he is. Is saying Bassey at the slot cornerback, not competent. God, no, not competent. So that's an area where you probably need to attack. As far as the second question here, would you rather have Falele or a free agent right tackle? I don't think Falele is a good scheme fit. Also, I am very concerned about him at his weight playing at altitude consistently. So especially in an RPO, faster paced offense. So I'm out on Falele as far as the Broncos fit there. I have some other guys farther down the draft that interest me for the Broncos, specifically at right tackle. If you're looking to draft one in day 2, day 3, free agent right tackle. Coming back to that point, I think Compton is competent and raises the floor of the room. He can play 4 spots in the offensive line. He's a good run scheme fit. So maybe the Broncos look to bring in somebody who is low risk, high reward, 1-year option where injuries have plagued them. That's the reason they're not getting a big contract. And if you get them and they're healthy, boom, that's awesome. But you didn't pay a lot long term. Somebody like a Riley Reef, who was cut by the Bengals, had been injured last year. But if you give him a 1-year deal for $4 million and he's healthy next year, you have yourself a top 12, 14 offensive tackle and one who's a great scheme fit. If he gets hurt, you didn't pay a lot. You're not committed to him long term, and you have Compton right there to fill in the backside where you're not as worried about it completely falling off. It's not an Elijah Wilkinson situation there for the Broncos at right tackle. So that's where I'm at on this whole thing.
Yeah, appreciate the support, Kenneth. Hope you're doing well. And Brent coming in saying, Scott, your concept of slot cornerbacks versus outside of cornerbacks is completely off base. You are clueless. I will stick with the thought that most guys that can play outside can play inside. and it doesn't go the other way nearly as well.
Yeah, I
When you're
agree with
scouting
that.
guys, you look at them and you say, okay, I like him, but that's how guys end up inside.
Yep.
I like him, but he's too short.
Yep.
I like him, but, and that's how guys end up moving inside. So clueless, maybe so. I disagree.
Totally. Travis coming in. Morning,
See.
fellas.
Going to
Good to see you,
Travis.
Travis.
Yeah, there we go. Travis had some stars coming in. Some morning, fellas. Listen to DB. Listening, DB for life. Appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken coming in too. Good morning from enemy territory, Los Angeles, Broncos country. Let's ride. You guys rock. You rock. Thank you so much. We also got Max Power coming in with the 2 pounds, euros.
Yes.
Oh, nailed
Yes.
it. Okay. Would you sign Stephon Gilmore? If Stephon Gilmore was available for cheap, yes, I would. I think he's a good enough athlete where you could see some inside outside. And to your point about cornerbacks playing inside outside, Scott, the Broncos kind of did that somewhat with Bradley Roby when they drafted him. He was a little bit inside outside. Sometimes you'd see it would depend on the matchup.
You see it all the time. You're like, well, man, he's really struggling outside. And then he moves inside, he finds a home. Okay. It doesn't usually go the other way. It's like, oh, we drafted this guy to play the slot. It's not working out. Let's move him outside. No, when you go from I can't play the slot, you go to the waiver wire.
Yeah.
That's just the progression.
Yep. And those guys aren't as valuable. I do think there is some nuance to it, like a cornerback.
Of course there is. It's a broad statement.
Yeah.
But again, look at the other side at receiver. You don't move guys from guard to tackle. You don't move them outside. It doesn't happen that way.
No.
You don't move guys and say, okay, well, he's not cutting it in the slot. Let's move him outside at receiver. Doesn't work that way either.
No.
It's like, okay, we're going to try and get him open because it's easier to get open. We're going to move him around. We're going to take 6'7" Kyle Pitts and we're going to put him in the slot because we're going to try and get matchups. That's where you try and get your matchups because it's easier to get open. So you get 100%. Your quick route runners with good hands, and then you're looking for guys like that, quick guys that might not have the size or strength on the inside versus the outside to try and match up with these smaller guys, quick guys, good hands that couldn't cut it on the outside either.
Yep.
It's the way it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like Gilmore. I think he's going to get paid way more than the Broncos are going to be willing to pay there. We got DeAngelis Jones coming in saying, Nick, what potential DB can the Broncos target day 3? So day 3, some names to keep in mind. I really like Marcus Jones from Houston. I had been mocking him in the Broncos round 3 pretty consistently. However, I heard at the combine that his shoulders were flagged with medicals, so he could fall to round 4 or 5. And if he did, I would have no issue with taking him. He's a good player. I like Mickel Wright from Oregon. I think he's a very good athlete. Jack Jones from Arizona State sticks out in my head as well. Those are the cornerback options. I'm also really interested in Alontae Taylor. I think he'll probably go day 2 somewhere, but he interests me. He has some slot and safety ability. As far as day 3 for safety, Nick Cross is somebody. He tested like an absolute freak at the combine. Pretty good at Maryland. I think he needs to get a little bit better with his assignments. Thinking he's doing a little bit too much on a bad Maryland defense. Discipline's really important in the back end. He didn't show that often enough, but he interests me a lot. Dane Belton, I think he should go day 2, but if he falls to round 4, scoop him up. University of Iowa, really good player, played the slot position, the star, which is the slot in Iowa's 4-2-5 base, and a name that I really like. Every time I watch this team, like, oh my God, this guy's a baller. Didn't test like a freak athlete, but he hits so well. He's very instinctual. He's very smart. He's got good size. Brian Cook from the University of Cincinnati. He's such a good tackler coming downhill, coming in space. He doesn't take many false steps. I really, really like Brian Cook a lot. If you get a chance to watch Cincinnati, I would say watch him in 2020 versus 2021, because he was dealing with a shoulder injury last year that kind of zapped him a bit. But he's really, really, really nice. Oh, and he said round 3. Excuse me. I thought it was day 3. I gave you a bunch of names there for day 3, not round 3. But definitely a position you want the Broncos to attack there this draft.
And appreciate the stars. I was looking for that comment. I couldn't find it because it was actually highlighted. So Giangelis, appreciate the stars on that one. And Trevor Sandel, good morning, my friend, comes in and says, Scott, do you think Matt Ryan is going to get another contract or be traded? I was hearing that some teams have been reaching out to him, reaching out for him. I think the trade talks started before the Deshaun Watson stuff. So for what we know, the Broncos could have gotten a call or whatnot. Ian Rappaport said that he could get a contract change because he never signed that other extension. So he might, or that other restructure. So that's still on the table. And it said with a sweetener. That sweetener means our bad. That's what the sweetener means. And he needs to go. For his sake, for everything else, I would be very happy to see him as somewhere like an Indianapolis Colt, or the Denver Broncos before they got Russell Wilson. in a place with a roster and a fresh start after this organization just stepped on their selves in this Deshaun Watson pursuit and then to get into them. The Falcons basically pissed off everybody. They pissed off half the fan base for going after Deshaun Watson, and then they pissed off the other half when they didn't get him. So it helped that they re-signed Cordarrelle Patterson. I'm like, you're damn right. You better put out some good news after that. So we will see. And Jacob coming in again with the big stars for sure. Thank you, sir.
Oh,
okay.
Lawrence.
I'm going to read this from here. So we promised Lawrence, and he even threw some more stars. I'm going to read it from over on this side. So
okay.
That we well, actually, I'll show it. It's okay. You don't need to see our faces. But talking about the problem, the conspiracy theory, he says, okay, so the quarterback has been our problem, correct? Well, we got Drew and Fangio at the same time, and I feel like Vic still wanted Flacco, but the fans had more of a say. I got news for you, Lawrence. The fans don't have a say. So he got pushed onto Vic, and Vic grew to hate some of the plans moving forward and still trying to do the best with what he got. And he's wanted a new QB and tried to justify it with the big with Flacco, the big fiasco. I don't know what that means. But it didn't happen, and last year was his last shot. So he went after everybody he hated and actually succeeded on some. And Peyton came in to do always dirty work by getting rid of the fan favorites that always wanted to be Broncos but would have cost money. So we went, okay. Yeah, that's a good one. That one's I think there's a phrase, something like, never underestimate the power of incompetence. I just don't think Vic Fangio was very good. I just don't think he was very good. I think you're looking way too much into this as this happened for this reason. Vic Fangio was not a very good head coach. I don't know how much he had to do with personnel decisions on the incomings and outgoings, which may have made him mad, but he just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Done. That's the heart of the problems with Vic Fangio.
Yep. Yeah, big picture was the issue with Fangio. Wasn't good enough with the big picture. And if you are the dictator, cold, calculated guy, only works if your team is winning and you have a great quarterback. Bill Belichick, Tom Brady in his corner. That makes things easier. We'll see how things continue to go there. But for Vic Fangio, obviously not inspiring the players. When you're losing and you're not having fun, it gets dark quick. So we got Mark Schrader coming in. What do you guys think about Logan Hall, and where would you see him going? I love Logan Hall. This is a great pick here, a great player. We had a comment earlier asking about, hey, Nick, what about the 5 technique position? Logan Hall would be amazing for the 5 technique. I think he's a classic 5 technique. He's somebody who a lot of times you see players at this height, and you try to project them inside, and it's like, oh man, can they play low? Can they do that? Because they're going to have the automatic leverage issues just because of the height. And Logan Hall battles to get low and just constantly working his hands to win pass rush counters there. So I really like Logan Hall. I think he's going to go somewhere from pick 40 to 50 in that range. But if he's there at 64, I would love him. I would love Logan Hall. I know he didn't dominated the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl, but the tape is so good.
He got handled at the Senior Bowl. It wasn't not dominating. He didn't do very well. He was handled at the Senior Bowl. That's why I'm like, who's Logan Hall? I'm like, oh, he was at the Senior Bowl. And oh, he was that guy in Houston that made everybody else's highlight tapes.
Yeah,
so
his tape is good
at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, his tape is, I don't know. His tape is good at Houston. I like his leverage. I also like his ability to be outside base, inside sub. So if he's there at 64, I think he's going to have to continue to work on his body, add some mass there. But he interests me a good bit at 64.
I look at 6'6", 290 and say, why didn't anybody make this guy an offensive tackle? Going back to the evolution, we'll go back from the inside outside thing. The next one is you move those guys to offense. The defensive line. I used to joke, you'd go to a combine and they put a high school camp and they'd put the offense and defense in different color shirts. I said, I swear to God, this is how they separate them. Big guys over here, big fat guys over here. It's just the way it is. So I see 6'6", 290, and maybe he turns out great, but if he looked like he probably could have been a really good offensive tackle from what I saw at Senior Bowl, but we'll see. We will see. But he's not a guy that I was very high on coming out of the
Senior
Mobile.
Bowl. Yeah, I do like him.
Yeah, it's a small sample size.
Yeah, I'm looking for his mock draftable. Yeah, the height is the biggest thing. He's 6'4". I think you start to get interested there if he's there. So you got C. Patrick Havner coming in. Thank you so much. Clee coming in here. Winfrey was great at the Senior Bowl. Imagine if he had a work ethic. Again, this is just coming from one person, Bob McGinn. Take it or leave it. I don't know Winfrey, and I don't have the resources that the teams have that are going to be investigating in these players to the point where it's like, military background checks. Like, oh, do
And
we
you know
trust you
what
to
also this is? This is the
line
former
season?
coaches at Oklahoma trying to cover their asses for not getting more out of this guy.
Yeah,
Oh, well, this is what it is. You wouldn't hear that stuff if they were still at Oklahoma.
yeah.
If they leave. Because I remember one of the things I saw, this is a Senior Bowl MVP. I posted his highlights from the Senior Bowl practices. And some of the comments starting coming in was like, USC, here's your new coaches. They got 1 sack out of this guy. That stuff gets around. Those kind of comments get around, and all of a sudden, hey, let's call up his former coach. Yeah, he didn't work very hard. Yeah, sure he did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
not for you, evidently.
Yeah, and the thing about it for pairing Winfrey again for me is I think it's about what fits the scheme. We got C. Patrick Havner already. Good to see you, C.
Okay.
Patrick Havner. Thank you so much. I just don't know if he fits the scheme. I think you're looking for him in more of a 4-3 scheme where it's one gapping and attacking. And I don't think with the Broncos signing of DJ Jones, it just does not seem like a team that is going to be emphasizing the one gap as much, especially from their interior defensive linemen. So we'll see. John D. Herrera saying, what do you guys think about Sua Craven's comments about Fangio? I think this is true in life. I think there is some embellishment to what Cravens is saying, maybe some exaggerations, and the truth is in the middle. I think that Vic Fangio is definitely curmudgeon-y, and maybe he didn't like some of the social media stuff and the personality stuff where you haven't earned it. It's not about, that's the gear that you're wearing isn't about football. But Sua Cravens, he's an interesting guy. It sounds like he's an interesting guy. I guess I'll leave it at that. But I would take everything he is saying with a somewhat of a grain of salt, because I would think that, truth is in the middle. And if you talk to multiple people in that organization, you'd hear that some of it is a little bit embellished.
I was surprised. I'm not on social media like Nick, so Nick's kind of my filter. He's my editor for me, and he'll send me the stuff. What I know of Sua Cravens, I was in LA working a lot of high school football when he was there, and he was one that you would say, okay, this guy's going to end up a doctor when he's done with football. Smart, leadership, well-spoken, good-looking. I mean, the kid has it all. It's one of those we're all jealous of if he wasn't so nice when we were in high school. Just a great person. I'm like, so I don't know if he's been, eating paint chips since then, but what I know of Sua Cravens coming out of high school was, I'm going to listen to something he has to say, because this is a well-spoken, smart, measured person. And if he's pissed, I'm listening. I am.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for Sua Cravens, the person. God, he was a hell of a football player, too. He was one of those guys, in high school, he'd play everything. Safety, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, played everything. He was a lot of fun to watch. Just a fantastic player.
You almost wonder if he's one of those guys that is a little bit too much. A lot of the old school football coaches are more militaristic, I would say, where it's, yes, sir, or no, sir, do your job kind of thing. And sometimes those coaches don't take the best to players who are asking questions like, why do we do this? Or I have some input on this.
You sound like you speak of this from experience, Nick. It's like, when I'm smarter than you, treat me with some respect, please, even if you are my boss.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely a possibility as well. It's not necessarily put your head down and work. It's, I have questions about what the thought process is behind this, because if I understand it, then maybe I'm going to be more bought in. But if I have questions and I don't understand
Get me on your side.
The process,
get Stu on your side. He can help. Yep. If you can explain it and it's successful, then he can help get other people. This is a guy that Sua Craven is a player you want on your side of things.
Yeah. Injuries were a big deal for him as well. That kind of zapped him, but it's too bad because he's hurt, because the Broncos are looking for a dimebacker type of body right now, and that's what he would be best at. It's kind of a weird niche role.
And that's kind of how he was. It's like, okay, athlete, where do we put this guy? He's 6'1", 215, 220 pounds. What do we do with him? God, he's a football player though. Good player. EJ coming in. Nick and Scott, thoughts on Nick Bonito and Sam Williams, both edge rushers at 64.
I like Nick Bonito. I think he's probably, again, the same thing. He's better in a scheme where he's not going to be asked to hold up against the run. I think he's more of a finesse style runner, not much speed to power and pop in his hands when I watch him. But man, he's a good athlete, a fluid athlete, a finesse rusher. I think he lines up very similarly to what you have in Jonathan Cooper, but to the nth degree. If he's there at 64 and you're looking for somebody who can be a third down specific type of guy to come in and also offer you some coverage reps going backwards, Benito would interest me. I really like Sam Williams' ability, but the one thing about Sam Williams is he has a sexual battery case against him at Ole Miss that caused him to be suspended for a long time. And learning more and more about the Broncos front office and sexual assault allegations going forward, they're doing work on Sam Williams, but they have a lot of women in position of power in the front office and organization in general. And sounds like that is a big no for a bunch of them. And God bless them for that. And that's why you want to have diversity and other voices in your room. So that way you can have other perspectives and whatnot. So if sexual assault and whatnot is a non-negotiable, then probably not Sam Williams at 64, unless the background checks say that, and their research, which again, these people are investigating these people's background like they're getting military clearance. So they'll have a better idea than we will. But that's there, and they do have to work through that.
They do interviews with all these players, and by God, it shouldn't just be checking in. Hey, it's a bunch of dudes in there interviewing and doing this. They should absolutely have a woman in there asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's not satisfied, then I'm not. Everybody, and we got 5 people in this room conducting an interview, and everybody's got a veto vote. Every single person should be able to flag that. Mm-hmm. So part of this process would be the diversity of the scouting department, and that includes the background stuff. Because if it's just football, for me, this isn't close. Sam Williams is a freaking beast. Yeah. He's a beast. He's 260 pounds, bounces up and down like a pogo stick. He is a top 15 edge rusher. Is that so? What are you going to do? You clear him, he ain't going to be there at 64. And if he's there at 64, there's concerns. If there's concerns, he's probably not going to be a Denver Bronco. Does that sound about right, Nick?
Yep, I think that's a big one there. He's got pop in his pads. I do think the motor runs hot and cold, and sometimes, especially on rundowns, it's like, buddy, you gotta get your shoulder in there and set that edge because you can do it. I've seen you do it. Why are you not doing it these reps? That's some concern for me as well with him.
From a talent perspective, it is a tantalizing package of talent that Sam Williams brings to the table. Yep. 6'4", 260 pounds, and it looks like a safety. Without just like his body shape, he's so well built and lean and long that without any perspective, when he walks out there, it's like, oh, that's a defensive back. Yeah. Oh my God, he's 6'4", 260 pounds.
Yeah.
With some perspective out there. So just from a football perspective, it's easy, Sam Williams, but there's more to it than just football.
Yeah. And again, more and more coming out with the Deshaun Watson stuff. Were the Broncos interested? Weren't they interested? I've heard that there were some ultimatums put down by some people in the front office that if Watson came, they were done. So we'll see what happens with Sam Williams, but really talented. Luckily for the Broncos, other edge rushing options too. But man, it's going to be interesting. Same with Micah Parsons last year. But we'll leave that one for now. Peter Middleton, how much better will Reisner be in the scheme? He deserved to be dropped from the first team last year. Good offensive line draft pick take his place. So I was very tough on Reisner to start the season because his form was not very good. But I thought actually as the season progressed, he started to turn it around. And by the end of the year, he was pretty solid. His run blocking is not what you want from the power scheme, but he's pretty good on pulls. And his pass protection is solid. Honestly, I think his issue is more so offensive. He's not good enough where he can be a gravitational pull to the guys around him. And with Bowles play dropping last season and Lloyd Cushenberry beating a bottom 3 to 5 starting center in football, that made Reisner look worse than he was. I think he had a lot on his plate because of that. So I disagree with him. I think early in the season he was struggling, but by the end of the year he was fine, and the scheme should help him. I do hope that, and again, this is just me seeing him, I think that Reisner's looks like he's put on a little bit of weight since he came to Denver from Kansas State. Is a little bit more of a belly going on there, and not the Quinn Miners kind sometimes. So, and he just looks a little bit more sloppy. Maybe he's been dealing with some injuries, who knows? But his rookie season in the outside zone centric scheme was his best year run blocking, pass protecting. So I think he should be better, and you should count on him at left guard. And I would be shocked if somebody came in and took his spot unless he got injured.
Yeah, could an OL draft pick take his place? Maybe, but probably not likely. where you're drafting, you're not going to get a guy that's probably good enough to come in and beat him out right away. Eventually, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So again, you're looking for competition at those spots. All three interior line spots, you're looking for competition
Mhm.
in the draft, and you should be able to find some. You should be able to find some good quality depth with all the picks you have, even if it's you hit on a guy or you package two together and move up a little bit. There will be players in here. And Lawrence, appreciate you coming here. Basically, Lawrence says, they're trying to protect Elway because he's the face of the franchise in a sale, which is smart. Hey, we don't want Elway to look bad. If Elway looks bad, the value of the team goes down, which makes sense. I just think the moves that were made were just bad moves. It was, I don't see any grand conspiracy here, just mistakes being made for a lot of these. Ethan coming in with the super, thank you, sir. Says, wasn't a huge fan of bringing Melvin Gordon back, but he may be dirt cheap, so why not? So what number on an average salary would you say, yeah, I want him back, Nick?
I'd give him at this point, with the fact that he hasn't signed yet and what you're dealing with cap size, maybe a 2-year deal for $7 million, where his cap hit this season is 2.5, and next season it's the rest of it. But it's only like a 1 million dead cap if you move on from him after this season, which is not
So
player friendly at all.
2 years, 7, 3 guaranteed.
Something like that. Yep, exactly.
That would be something like that. I was thinking 4. I was thinking 1 year for 4. So
Yeah.
we're close, and probably none guaranteed, I think, is what I said last night when we were talking about him.
Yeah.
Again, he wasn't an $8 million running back in his last contract. That was an overpay. This is his third contract.
Yep.
So he's not going to find that money unless somebody gets completely desperate, and that's probably what he'll hold out for.
Mm-hmm.
Melvin Gordon may run all the way to August before signing with anybody, and then he'll say, "Okay, I've got a call. I'm going to sign on a low vet, for $1 million, and I'm going to go sign with the Buffalo Bills." I mean, that'd be a good fit for him. They're doing some other things right now. They need a running back, and I'm going to go sign with the Bills because they need a running back. They had a good team. Go hook up with my boy Vaughn again, and do something like that. So there's no rush, I don't think, when you're negotiate from a position of strength. You're good at running back. You're good. If I can add something to it and bring Melvin Gordon back for a dime, okay, I can live with that.
Richie Rich, big fat guys, eh? Jacob Foster coming in here saying, not saying anything because
those compression shirts that they wear at high school combines tell no lies.
Yep.
And the defensive linemen are usually 16-year-old and ripped. The offensive linemen, not quite as much.
No, not as much. Well, I mean, unless the bodies are changing. Evan Neal, what the hell? It was crazy.
Defensive tackle. One of the funny things was my friend's a trainer here, and I walked in and I saw this guy. He's about 6'5", 230, and I kind of forgot where I was because I'm used to seeing 6'5", 230. And I said defensive end, and he goes wide receiver. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what they look like 4 years later when they're finished. So it's a very big change, but again, that's the next move. It goes guard, it goes defensive end, defensive tackle, moving over to offense, offensive guard, you're out. That's the progression for a big man in football.
Makes sense. Well, Scott, we got to get on this mock draft here real quick because it's already.
I forgot about that. Do we have to?
We should real quick. $30 from DWI guys first. Sutton and Patrick didn't restructure their contracts. They had roster bonuses in their contract that were due yesterday, but the team can and did convert them to signing bonuses to spread out the cap hit over the contract. Yes.
Isn't that a restructure technically, though?
It is a restructure, but it's not like they agreed to the restructure. It's just the way the contracts are. The Broncos can restructure the deal. They're still getting the same money. It's just an accounting thing.
We're going to pay you now. Good, because taxes don't go down. So give me my money now.
Well, they've already been paid the signing bonus. It's just they get more guarantees put on later in their deal to lower the cap hit now. So it's really just moving numbers around. It doesn't change I don't believe it changes anything for Patrick and Sutton other than it guarantees them more money later on. So that's my understanding. I'd have to get more of a capologist in here to answer that. But I don't know what the Kathy's talking about here. Darty talk about Devontae Price. Did the Broncos sign somebody named Devontae Price? That would be news to me.
Kathy Schmidt. Good morning. She's I don't know if you're over in Germany or just Germany.
In Germany.
Okay.
Yep.
So good afternoon. And good morning to Chris. Let's take care of some of our stars here again real quick.
Absolutely.
And then real quick for Travis, Double T coming in saying, do you think the restructuring of Sutton and Patrick's contracts another move in free agency? Yes, or a big extension for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
You're clearing cap room for a reason. You're not just clearing it to clear it. So there's something coming. Something's on the way.
Yep. And the Broncos, they've been looking at cornerbacks like crazy. I would expect that to be the next big move for the Broncos. But we'll see. They're looking at cornerbacks. They've been calling on them, made some agent connections at the combine when I've covered that a few times. Broncos are calling on cornerbacks right now. Who it'll be, we'll see. But let's get into this mock draft here. We're going to do a mock draft here because it is mock draft Monday. The Broncos obviously don't have any picks in the first 50. They don't have a pick till 64, but we're going to use the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator today to mock for the Broncos. So hopefully you guys can see this on your screen for Scott here. Here we go. He's zooming in a little bit. And Scott, go to the top right because you haven't picked a team yet and you only have 3 rounds.
We'll go. Well, I was picking my team.
Okay. Let's do 5 rounds. 7. Do a 7. Okay, that's fine. Let's do it.
We'll have 7. We can always stop.
Yeah. Absolutely. So going into this, obviously the Broncos are still says start draft on the bottom right. Oh, you're gonna zoom in a little bit. Smart.
Would you chill?
I'm trying to help.
Like driving in the back seat. I'm trying to make it so that we can see. This was the one where this was the one we tried to do and I ended up like drafting wrong because I couldn't see the board because it was zoomed in so much.
I think that was Draft Network. That's okay. Oh man, going quick. Love it. Okay, so so while we're looking at this as it's leading up, Broncos offensive tackle, defensive back, edge rusher. If there's somebody that defensive tackle or a linebacker that's too good to pass, then God bless it. We'll lean it. There goes Abraham Lucas, pick 62.
This is why we didn't use this one last time because I can only see one line at a time.
Oh, okay. Well, let's scroll down or like zoom.
Let me see if I can come out just a little bit here. At least I can see a few more. But let's go. Let's see where they went. Early. So Aiden Hutchinson, Kyle Hamilton, number 2. I I like it. I like them already. Thibodeau, Ika Mekwano, Evan Neal, Sauce at 6, Derek Stingley, Trevon Walker at 8. Falcons don't pick Georgia guys. Actually, they just got Lorenzo Carter, who's from Norcross High School and the University of Georgia. So they just signed him on a 1-year deal. Charles Cross went to the Seahawks with your 9 pick. And, okay, Malik Willis, first quarterback off the board. We'll go down. Carl Loftus as high as 13. That's pretty. 15 to Kobe Dean. I don't think he goes that high. So we're going down. We'll look at some of the picks that went just ahead of where we were at 64. Cole Strange, Abraham Lucas at 62. That's what I'm saying. If you like him and you start getting, ants in your pants, you might want to move up. Throw a 7 at somebody and move up a few spots just to make sure. There's Fa'alele at 60, Nick Bonito. A lot of the guys we've been talking about, Muma, Trey McBride. And frankly, the number 1 tight end might not be a terrible pick instead of getting the number 2 right tackle. The number 10 right tackle at that spot might not be. In this case, it wasn't an option. So at 64, where do you want to look here? Where do you want to look?
I say scroll down just because I'm not interested. Nope. Oh, man, this is rough. I guess the name for me that sticks out here is you already passed him for the Broncos. It is Josh Pascal. Last time we had in that draft network.
Well, we got him in the 7th.
Yeah, we got him in the 7th, which is crazy to me. He had a top 7, I think, 10-yard split. He was 90th plus percentile in all of his jumps as well. But for the edge rusher position, those jumps are very valuable because that shows your twitch and explosiveness. He's led the SEC in tackles for loss the last 2 seasons. And also, you want to talk about a character guy? Josh Pascal beat cancer a couple years ago and then came back playing football, had to change his body after having to do treatment, and then came back and became a leader for that team that turned around and competed in the SEC for a basketball school. So I really like Josh Pascal. Also, we talked about it earlier. The Broncos do not have depth, I trust, at the edge position right now. And this is also a draft pick where the Broncos you're drafting him here, and he is giving you an option behind Bradley Chubb where you are not next year desperate to sign Bradley Chubb. You have an option in-house that can probably lean in on him. So I really like Josh Pascal here at pick 64. I know his ADP is 80.5. I don't care. I think he's a really good player.
And Bryce coming in. Good morning. Thanks for the content. Long drive with a nice pod to listen to. We'll appreciate you. We tend to go long on days like this. I like Kingsley Enigbare, but I'm not completely sold on him. My favorite, I think the best player on the board is right here, Christian Watson. Right here. And there's probably somebody way down here that we can't see, but hopefully if he's that far down, he'll be available on our next pick.
And just looking at the board there real quick for the Broncos, you're talking about cornerbacks, possibly. They had, who was the cornerback that was just on the board? If you scroll down, maybe he's still there. Martin Emerson. Talk about a cornerback that boundary to slot. If Emerson's in the slot, you're cooked. He cannot turn at all. If he's a pure press boundary corner. So I don't think I'm as interested in him at all for the Broncos. If he
can't turn, he's cooked on the outside too.
He's really good if he gets his hands on you and then can turn one way, but he doesn't have the hip flexibility to turn both ways. So he scares me. So yeah, this one is a lot tougher. The board is a lot tougher here, and I think that's great because Lord only knows. So let's look at some of the offensive tackles here for the Broncos.
And I did click on Josh Pascal for those of you listening. We did take him. Filter positions. OT.
Scroll down. Ooh, woof. I do like Braxton Jones.
The guy I like there is Braxton Jones out of that bunch, but if he's listed at 159, we don't have to draft him yet.
Yeah, let's scroll up a bit first. I do like Matt. Well, let's go. I do like Sean Benyon. Let's check out the defensive tackles and let's check out cornerbacks first. Cornerbacks and safeties. These are the tackles still. Oh, that's everybody. That's okay. I don't really like
cornerbacks and tackles. It didn't clear one when I chose the other.
That's annoying.
So cornerback, I have to clear it first.
Yeah. Interesting, they have JoJo Doman listed as a cornerback here. Cam
Taylor. There you go. There's your guy. It's Tyreek Woolen. You see his average draft position is 40 spots higher than where they have him ranked. That's not an accident.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with him. We could, for the sake of this draft, we could have a chance to get him at 90. We could probably get him at 96.
Yeah. Let's check out the safeties too, just real quick, just because Broncos need somebody to play the hybrid position there. It's okay. I kept cornerback. You can scroll down. That's okay. No. Okay, we talked about Brian Cook earlier. We talked about Nick Cross already. Scroll down. Yeah, I think maybe
speed up. You're almost off the clock.
Yeah,
dude.
I know, man. We're going a hard time here. I think that based on what we've seen so far, I think we honestly should just go with Tariq Woolen. I know that he's not a slot player, so to speak, but he's too good here. The Broncos, Ronald Darby's only played one healthy season in his career, and this is the AFC West, for God's sake. You need bodies in the secondary, so I'm leaning Tariq Woolen here. He's tested like an absolute freak.
Yeah, here's my cheat sheet, y'all. So if you want to look at I took all these and put them into they're probably in a spreadsheet somewhere else, but I turned them into a spreadsheet. Tariq Woolen, 6'4", 205, 4'2", 640, and he didn't do his other numbers, but if he can turn at all, I'm feeling pretty good about that. So
yeah, it's an arms race in the AFC West, and I would consider
we took Tariq Woolen with our next pick.
Yep, absolutely.
I like Dylan Parham on interior line.
I do too. I'm going to be honest with you. You have Russell Wilson here in Denver.
Christian Watson still. Give me a 6'4", 215, 210 pound wide receiver that blocks his ass off.
That's exactly. I think that's the pick. I think we got to do it. I think we got to take Christian Watson. He's too good here. If you're looking for wide receivers that fit what Russell Wilson wants, somebody who can stretch the field vertically. I know you just kept the likes of Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton in-house. I don't care. It's an arms race, and you need bodies there. So I would really like Christian Watson.
Christian Watson. For some reason, he didn't get listed. He was. I don't have his height and weight on here. I got to fill that in. But I had him on the Senior Bowl, and he was like 6'4", 205, 4'3", 38.5-inch vertical with an 11. What's that? An 11.4 standing broad jump.
Yeah,
he ain't gonna be there.
He's too good. I think we take him here.
He could sneak into the top half of the second round.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think we should close it out here with these next two picks. Let's pull up. Scott, it's okay if you pull up multiple here. Okay. Let's offensive tackle. Interior offensive line. I'm looking for centers, maybe. Defensive line. With wide net here. We're just going to pick from this for the next few picks. Safety and cornerback.
Could have just
everything.
Yes. I didn't say it.
No, it's okay, Scott. I love you. These are the positions we're looking at now for the Broncos. Zion McCollum, he was another one who tested like a freak at the position.
We haven't gotten a tackle, have we?
We have not gotten a tackle. I mean, one of these picks is going to be
Let's go. The guy that's got some decent upside. He's lean. When you're talking about pick 115, that's a low risk maneuver. With I like his. I like his frame. Let's see how he tested.
He tested great. He's just so skinny.
I know he's a lean. We said it sounds so stupid when you say he's a skinny 308 pounds. Matt Walesko, 6'8", 312. He's so skinny. He's really undersized at 312. It's ridiculous. I know how ridiculous that sounds. 36-inch arms, 503 on the 40, 30-inch vertical, 113. I'm gonna miss on the 6'8" guy that's athletic as hell.
Yep, and
I can feed him a little bit more and get him at 325. I like Walesko here. We need a right tackle. Yep. He's got all kinds of upside.
And he's one that you're putting in the fermentation chamber. You know, you're letting him grow for a little bit, and you're loving your life. So we have two picks here. I think we're gonna really lean into the offensive line. I like him a lot, but Scott, I got the two picks here. I think you sold me on Walesko.
Would you rather Jones too?
Would you rather have Walesko or Jones?
Oh, you saw him at the Senior Bowl. You can talk me into either one of them. That's not a hill I'd die on. If you and I were fighting over that, I'd let you choose.
Well, let's ask the chat real quick. I'm pulling up the chat, guys. Are you thinking Walesko or Jones? Anybody? First person to say a comment here. Walesko or Jones?
Here, let's go
Braxton
to the video.
Jones. CC said Braxton Jones. I'm fine with Braxton Jones here. His short shuttle wasn't amazing, and Kathy says Walesko. I'm fine with either of these guys. Both of them need a year. Both of them have tremendous arm length. Both of them impressed me a lot. Now we have 2 for Jones, 2 for Walesko, 3 for Jones. Peter Middleton coming in with Jones. I think we go with Braxton Jones here. So here is Matt Walesko. Look at that move. Ooh, that was nice. That's what you want.
It's just warming up stuff, but the way he moves so easy. And this is going against a Penn State edge.
Arnold Ebiketie.
Again, you see why we say he's lean. I mean, this guy's 6'8", and you saw his agility numbers. I don't think he's not. Again, I use the sleeper guy from a smaller school is Spencer Brown. He's not Spencer Brown athletically. He's a little stiffer than that. But this is Boye Mafe that he's standing up right here. And again, that's not quite a one-on-one pass rush drill. But I'm a fan of what he had. Left tackle coming off. That's Penn State again, coming off the edge. He seals the edge there. Nice. Keeps him going around back while Kenny Pickett would have probably gotten killed. Here he's at left tackle. And that's I forgot his name, the other edge from Oklahoma. Left tackle. This is a 220-pound speed guy from Kansas coming off the edge here.
He kills him. Yep. Good. Not the best punch, but that's the arm length gives him a larger radius. He's a good mover too. Let's go with Walesko. He needs to put on weight. One more. We're going to do Braxton Jones too.
Yeah, one more. Braxton Jones, and I'll pull up his numbers also. I like Braxton Jones a lot too. That's D'Angelo Malone. I think he's a sleeper at edge for a later round. So keep an eye on him. I really liked him. Good athleticism. This is 1v1s. Is that Barno, Virginia Tech?
Yeah.
Amari Barno tested really, really well. God, so you see, you get a little bit more length with as far as height goes with Walesko, a little bit more room to grow. This is Barno again. Barno's really fast.
Braxton Jones carries the weight a little bit better right now. I think he's probably a little.
I like Walesko. I'd be okay with both, but I really do like Walesko.
Okay, well let's go with Walesko on this one. Just 2 names here that we're looking at. Either of them would be fine. Either of them are a developmental tackle, but both of them have the thresholds to hang there at the next level. So I right now have Braxton Jones rated a little higher personally, but if somebody in my room said, actually, I like Walesko for
we've got 2 picks. Let's just take them both. What are we talking about here?
I have a pet guy here that I wanted to take next.
All right.
So let's take Walesko here.
Let's take them both.
I want to take Cam Jergens here. I think Cam Jergens is an absolutely incredible center prospect. I think he honestly could be your starting center day one here. You can just scroll down. He should be there at the interior offensive line. There's some talk that he could sneak into the first round. He's that level of athlete at the center position. He's got 33-inch arm length for the center. He moves incredibly. I love Cam Jergens. We're talking about the Broncos. What are they going to do with Graham Glasgow? What are they going to do with Lloyd Cushenberry? Blah, blah, blah. Cam Jergens gives you a scheme fit who's going to keep your guy early. And guess what? This hurts me. This hurts me to a personal level. Daniel Jeremiah is saying some teams have Cam Jergens rated higher than my boy Tyler Linderbaum at Iowa. So that's where I'm at. That kills me. I don't love it, but such is life. That's the way it goes sometimes.
Pick up my picks. This is where I could use some help. How can I see who I've already picked?
Okay, let me pull up the thing here. I can tell you who we've picked. It might be scrolled down. Or,
usually you can click here or here somewhere on this.
Well, we've taken Josh Pascal. We've taken Christian.
Go. Draft a player analysis. No.
I can tell you who we took, Scott.
Okay.
At pick 64, we took Josh Pascal. At pick 75, the Broncos took the Tariq Woolen, University of Texas, San Antonio.
UTSA.
Yep. And then 96, we took Christian Watson. And then we just took Matt Waletzko and Cam Jergens. So they're the picks. We hit all the positions the Broncos really need besides safety and tight end, but guess what? That's okay. So yeah, let us guys know what you think. That was probably the most realistic one we've had so far. So I guess shout out to Pro Football Focus on that. It's like we took this guy who shouldn't be there. The one that really didn't deserve to be there was Cam Jergens. I think he's going to go in the top 50. He's also center and guard and positionally versatile. And this is the nicest things I'll ever say about a player from Nebraska. So make sure you guys screen clip this one. But Cam Jergens is really good. Everybody's screaming about the Broncos need an offensive line. Cam Jergens could probably start year one, and you have a veteran quarterback, so you're not as concerned about that with the rookie center. And Waletzko probably starting in 2023. So you just have to get by this season.
If you would have gotten to watch that 95 Cornhuskers team and Tommy Frazier as an absolute magician at quarterback, you'd have better things to say about Nebraska, even if you didn't like it. For me, it'd be like someone who went to Auburn waxing poetic about that 92 Alabama team, and that defense was chef's kiss.
Yep.
So, we're fans of the game, and Tommy Frazier was absolutely amazing on that 95 Nebraska team was so good. On that note, I think it's about time we get out of here, Nick.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. We had a lot of fun today. Not a bad draft at all. Solid B. That one was kind of rough. I mean, seeing Abraham Lucas go 2 picks before is rough. That's one where you're like, maybe I package a couple picks just to move up a little bit to go get that guy, just to feel solid about that position.
I love Abraham Lucas. I really do. And like I said, I was on the, how I felt about Spencer Brown, the whole pre-draft, post-draft, during the year. I've been saying it 100 times, drink Spencer Brown. I'm not there with Abraham Lucas, but I like him a lot. I do.
Yep. Really good player. And Scott, you're kind of interested in the interior offensive line too. If you get a chance, watch some Cam Jergens. Fun player.
Okay.
He's one that we talked about prior to the Senior Bowl or prior to the Combine. Who are the interior offensive line to keep an eye on for? Jergens is going to test grade. He's a good player. So man, rough on that one. Some good players in Nebraska. Cam Taylor-Britt, JoJo Doman. Hurts me to say. But we appreciate you guys. We're going to get on out of here. Make sure you guys are following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell, MHH. Tomorrow morning, I have a very important meeting at 7. So I'm going to join you early for tomorrow to kick off the show. And then I'm going to be out probably 25 minutes in. And then Scott can, tread water for 10, 15 minutes or however the chats are going. But sometimes that's the way it goes. So we appreciate you. Appreciate you, Scott, for willing to do that as well.
You're going to get way too much of me because I'm on with Zach again tonight. So, and Zach and I have a little bit different vibe sometimes than Nick and I in the morning. So it's a lot of fun. It's Zach and Nick and I have a lot of fun. Zach and I have a lot of fun with y'all Broncos country. So I'm looking forward to tonight too.
Absolutely. And if you need any help, Scott, let me know on those ones as well. The night times I can do some stuff. But yeah, guys, make sure you're following us on Twitter. Please like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you're following us on our Facebook chat at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. If you haven't done so yet, go to iTunes, leave a 5-star rating and review for a chance to win some swag. US Dave, if you're still here, reach out to me on Twitter. please. And we will send you a mug because you're back. Hey, I saw you were back. I tried to highlight it, but we had a super chat come in. But thank you for joining us today. We appreciate everyone. We will see you tomorrow. Everyone stay safe. Choose kindness. Choose compassion. Have a great rest of your week. Spring is here. Spring is sprung. God bless. Go Broncos.